Yes, still onto the daybreak for today, and today we want to actually look at politics. And on politics, we want to look at the relationship between the governments and the government. Now, that relationship seems to be strained somehow. We're actually having a lot of divide between these two. But we have somebody to discuss this and checkmate, or rather, tell us what is actually causing this, or why are we having that particular divide, and if there's a divide at all. So I have with me in the studio Adereti Emmanuel, who is an entrepreneur but also a social affairs analyst. You're welcome.
Nice to be here.
Yes, Emmanuel, I'm sure, first of all, Happy New Year.
Yes. Yeah, same to you.
Now, I'm sure you know what is happening in the country. And again, people are actually looking at it like as if there is a serious divide between the government and the people now. That's the governors and the governed now. Governors, when I mean in quotes, like the whole entity of with rulership, you understand, and then the governed are just the people. So the people itself are seeing that divide. It seems it is getting wider. So what actually is that relationship?
You're asking a very simple but yet difficult question. Okay. The way God structured for life to be, okay, by God, I mean the creator, okay, whatever name it is, anybody calls him, you know. But I am one who believes that the nature itself is structured to be symbiotic, okay. In other words, we need each other to survive. All right, you look at the relationship between man and animal, you know, between man and plants, and you just discover that one way or the other, the ecosystem is reliant, you know, on every component. You know, but in Nigeria, it is not like that. Okay, the relationship between the government and the governed is supposed to be symbiotic. Okay, it's supposed to be a give and take relationship. The people give to you the mandate, okay, and in return you give them the dividends of democracy. In return you give them good governance, you give them good policies, you know, you make their lives better, okay. But this administration is about a year old, you know, so it's too early to call, okay. But if we are to judge, you know, by previous administrations and the direction this administration seems to be pointed at, okay, then you say that the relationship is more parasitic than anything else.
So the problem there is a problem in there.
Yes, there is. And that is the problem is that the government is feeding fat, you know, on the governed, while the governed are not even able to feed off the crumbs, you know. So that's why you have the jackpot syndrome. That's why you have the new slogan this year, which the youths and the population are saying they no go gree for anybody. It's as simple as that.
Now, there are different levels to government, and you know, and there are three types of government as we know it and as Nigerians know it. And this was created to see how there will be a part that will be so related to the people itself. And so we have the executive, we have the legislative, and then we have the judiciary. Now, has any of these three actually worked to function well with the people?
You see, well, it's when you're an outsider, when you're outside of government, it's easy to point fingers and say, this is not doing well, this is not being done as it should be, and all of that. So I'm aware that our constitution itself, you know, contains a lot of bottlenecks, contains a lot of loopholes, which allow, for most of the inefficiencies we have in governance to continue. Okay, but then having said that, realistically, if you're looking at the three top arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, ordinarily the legislature ought to be the closest to the people, because that's where the policies are made. They are supposed to be the direct intermediaries between the executive arm of the government, and those whom they govern. Okay, but what you have currently is the direct opposite. Let me give you an immediate instance. If you look into the budget, I do not want to mention the exact figures. Okay, but if you look at the budget and you look at the amount of money that was earmarked for student loans, okay, this government has said they are going to be giving loans to students and all of that. Now you compare that amount that has been earmarked to make the life of students better in some way or form. You compare that amount with the amount of money that has been earmarked, to build a garage, a park for the legislative arm of government, and you begin to wonder, if those, that structure that part of, the budget had their thinking caps on, or if there's something wrong with them. Do you understand? Because if you look at many aspects of the 2024 budget, you can't help but feel discouraged, about what is to come.
Now, looking at the way Nigeria is set, and looking back, there was a time the system had the serious involvement of the local government, with the people. The people actually went to the local governments to get almost everything. But over the years, we've had some kind of strain in that aspect, where now we have the governors dictating the pace more than what the local governments are doing. Is there a divide that is too strange because of the distance between the executive, the legislative, the judiciary? Is there between the executive and the local government now, is there too much a distance that is now affecting the people?
You see, there is, to answer your question directly, there is, okay, and the major reason for that is because there really isn't any autonomy between the local and the state governments. Do you understand? A lot of local governments in Nigeria, in different states, still get, their allocations, their the monies, that they are supposed to use to function, they still get it directly from the state government. Do you understand? And he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So what you have that is prevalent in many states is that these monies are either not released on time, and even when they are released on time, they are not released in full. So imagine that you have 20 local governments in a particular state, and each of these local governments is supposed to get 100,000 naira each. Now, for them to get access to this 100,000 naira each, they have to go to the state government to go and queue to collect it. Now, the state government, in its wisdom, says that 100,000 is too much for each of you. We have a lot we want to do at the state, so you people should take 20,000, and go and make use of. Now, what has been allocated to that to each of the local governments is 100,000. What they are getting is 20,000. Do you understand? How does that local government, how does it transmit the benefit of democracy to the people?
I want to ask this question because I asked one person who is a politician actually, and the person said it is left for the federal government to give out a policy, but the state governors are not coerced they are not forced to take up these policies. It is left for them to just say if they can queue in. So my question is, the issue of just having local government, like the kids out there, they are just there. And so the father, when if he has and there's a little crumb and he feels there's enough for him, he now gives to the small child to use to feed or whatever. Is that acceptable? Is this something our constitution supports?
The problem we have has never been with the enactment of laws. It has always been with the enforcement of laws, you know, and the wordings of laws. Do you understand? And for as long as you have people in the legislature who benefit, you know, from the deliberate inclusion of these loopholes, you know, in laws, we're going to continue to have these problems. Okay, because it is actually possible, you know, for the legislative arm of government to come up with policies that insist that things should be done in a certain way. Do you understand? But what you have is not the legislative arm insisting, but it's suggestions. So if you are suggesting and you're saying, okay, you can do it like this if you want, otherwise you still have the alternative of doing, you know, people will always queue along the lines that favor them the
what
most.
They can do.
Do you understand? Yes, but if you make it mandatory and you say, okay, this is the way that we want these funds to go, this is the way we want these administrations, you know, to be sponsored, and then, you know, everybody will fall in line. But for as long as you leave that power in the hands of the governors to decide, okay, the governor of a particular state can decide, let the allocations go directly to the local government rather than, do you understand? Because, you know, the way these things are structured, there's a portion for the state government, there's a portion for each of the local governments that comes straight from the federal government. Do you understand? So why should you allow Taye to be the one to collect what belongs to Idowu? Do you understand? You want to serve jollof rice at a party, and the five of us, Taye, Kende, Idowu, Alaba, and, you know, the others are all at the party. Why does it have to be Taye that will collect the food for everybody, when we all know that if the food is given to Taye, Taye can decide if there's tutu meat on top? In his wisdom, he can decide to take one meat off everybody's own, and you cannot complain because it is Taye that has gone to get the food for you. Do you understand? But if everybody is able to go directly and queue for their food and collect the food, now whatever you do with your own portion of the food is your business, and you can be held accountable for it. For instance, I will not give you food now and then you come back to those serving and you say they never give you food, or when we know that we have given to you, you know. So we actually know the right things to do, we know the right, you know, the right measures to take, but we just, you know, for the purpose of carrying out the mischief, you know, that by we now I'm talking about the government, you know, the mischief that we want to carry out, we refuse to do things properly. It is common sense. A lot of the problems we have are things that common sense will just resolve, but will make them look complex, and they are not.
Now, you've talked about, you know, laws have been enacted. You know, we have the policies, because I wanted to go by our constitution. What is exactly our constitution saying between the government and the governed, you know? But you said much about that. But what is the challenge actually preventing implementation of some of these policies?
It's porosity. It's porosity. When you enact laws that are deliberately two-sided, when you enact laws that are ambiguous, you know, ambiguous in the sense that, I mean, when you can simply say for everybody that steals, you will go to jail. Do you understand? And then you now say, if you take something that belongs to your brother, you will go to jail if it is taking this way, this way, this way, but if it is taking the other way, you know, you may avoid jail, but instead of going to jail, you'll be given 2 strokes of the cane and be told not to do that again.
I don't want to, I'm sorry for cutting you now. Like this thing you just said now, I just asked a question before we came on, you know, from somebody. I said, the person actually said, oh, the Honorable Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, that, you know, the money issue went down her drain, that people are now calling that she should be pardoned, that it just her first this thing that, you know, maybe it's a mistake and all that. And I said, isn't that a problem for the country? You know, like what you are seeing now, you know, isn't that a big problem for the country? Is it that every time anybody offends, and then we have to now look at it like, oh, this person is just coming into this shoe, the person does not know anything, maybe it's this thing, let us offend that person and give that person a second chance. Between regulatory and legal, you know.
You see, the matter you just raised is a difficult one for me to comment on. Now, the reason is because, one, the details are at best sketchy. Okay, for instance, what triggered all of this is the fact that the honorable minister, okay, purportedly, okay, requested for monies to be paid into somebody's personal account. Do you understand? And I'm sure that she's not the first that will do that. I'm sure she will also not be the last to do that. Okay, she has just gotten into an office. The office has its existing modus operandi, you know, and all of that. You know, so there are a lot of things that are difficult for you to judge. Now, the EFCC has invited her for questioning. Here, ICPC says we are not questioning, we have recovered XYZ amount of money already, and all of that. You know, but all of these things are still going on. Investigations are still going on, and it would shock you, okay, the kind of cans of worms that could, you know, be opened, you know, by that saga. It's actually something that I do not see, you know, going on for too long. Okay, because if forensic analysis is to be done, you know, and all of that, in my opinion, there's a possibility of a lot of heads rolling.
Now, I am not looking at that case now. I'm looking at regulations.
Yes, so you know,
the
thing is this: you have a system that permits one thing for A and another thing for B. Let me give you an example. In this nation, we've had a governor, you know, on record that has been caught on video. There's video evidence, there's audio evidence, there's audiovisual evidence of this governor receiving bribe in dollars and putting it in his babariga, putting it in his car.
And the president waved it away.
Do you understand? And that particular governor still holds a prominent position in this country presently. Well, I don't know whether it's this administration or whether it's a political party. Do you understand? You know, you have laws, you know, that when you want to, you can use it, you know, to strong arm this person into submission, and you can still twist the same law, you know, to make this other person, because this person is in your good books, to make this person walk free without, you know, any penalty whatsoever. You know, so we have people that have consistently broken laws in this country, consistently broken laws, and they continue to walk free. I'm talking about government officials. Do you understand? Who have consistently embezzled money. The evidence is everywhere. The evidence is public, you know, notice. It's in the public domain. You know, and these people are still occupying one office or the other. Do you understand? So what they just do is they change portfolios. Today, they are executive governor. Tomorrow, they are honorable minister. Next tomorrow, they are honorable senator. And these are known criminals. People that have embezzled their states dry. People that, you know, have embezzled their constituencies dry. You know, people that they are experts at milking, you know, state resources, and they continue to hold offices. Why? Because the laws of the land allow those that know how to manipulate it to continue to manipulate it.
Now, to wrap up now, what do you think should be done? Actually, what do you think is the way out for the government to have a good relationship with its citizens?
I think first and foremost, the administration of Tinubu needs to be applauded, okay, because it hasn't taken them too long. As soon as the uproar began, you know, he called for the humanitarian minister to be suspended, you know, invited her to Aso Rock, you know, she's been invited by EFCC. He seems to be allowing, you know, regulatory agencies, law enforcement agencies, you know, to do their work. Now, that is a good trend, and that is a step in the right direction.
Anyway, I want to thank you so much for your time. We could have stretched this for so long, for much longer, but I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Well, that's the much we can take on here. We'll go for a very short break and I'll be right back.